Welcome to another episode of Good Cooking. And today I'm here with one of my favorite people, my mother-in-law, Robin. And what are you making for us here today?
Oh boy, we are making white beans and ham. This recipe has been handed down from my mother, who's now 100 years old, and before that, her mother. So the first thing we're going to do, and I've already done this, is we've soaked the beans overnight. And you need to do that because it would take a very long time to get them to cook if you hadn't soaked them where they can absorb some liquid. So we're gonna dump the beans.
What do we have our stove on? What level heat?
You're just gonna put this on probably medium for now.
You do the honors right there. Okay, so now what are we
So now
doing
we're
here?
going to use some chicken broth.
Okay.
And we're just going to pour this in.
What are we using? How much you think about here?
I'm going to use about, if you're doing it on the stove top, because you can do it in the crock pot, and we'll cover that a little later, you're probably going to just put in enough to barely cover the beans in the pot, okay? Then you're gonna take a couple of bay leaves. That'll give it a little more flavor. And you're just gonna put those down inside.
Now, do those
and
have to be dried?
That's how they come. Bay leaf comes dried.
You can never get a fresh bay leaf?
You probably can if you have a tree, but I've never seen I've never seen a fresh bay leaf. So
Well, now that we got your attitude out of the way.
that's right.
By the way, let me ask you a
Yes.
question. While we have this soup going, is there any gripes that you have that you would like to talk about your daughter? Because I'll
Well,
tell
you probably
mine.
should ask her because she always has some.
No, I mean, if you want to vent, this is the show to
This
do it
is
on.
the show to do
She's
it on,
not a
yeah.
part of it, even though you may hear her in the background.
Yeah. Well,
This is where you
Goes
get
without
it out.
saying.
It's going to be on camera, and all 387 people that we reach are going to be able to hear
but
about
are
it.
they all friends of Lindsay?
Who cares?
Oh.
That's what we say.
Okay.
So you got your soup on
Okay,
medium
so we've
heat.
got our soup started.
Okay.
And then, and I do this usually even if I have just a bone, is I buy they usually come two to a package, and they're called Ham Hocks. And they have a fair amount of meat on them. And what's gonna happen is when they cook in this soup, they'll get to the point where you can just shred the meat off the bone, and that adds to your soup. So it adds flavor, but it also adds more meat.
And you want to just score these.
And you wanna score these just with a knife.
And why do we want to do that?
It just makes them, see how kind of tough this outer layer is?
Right.
You just want to kind of open this up. They'll cook a little faster that way.
Okay.
So you're going to do that and drop these down in your
Got it.
in your soup.
And these, as they cook over that period of time, they're just going to start to fall off the bone.
Yes,
very
they will.
easily.
Yeah. So I'm just going to put those in there. We're going to just let this now sit and cook away. What you will want to do is periodically just kind of monitor this and make sure there's just enough liquid that your beans are just kind of a little out of the liquid. You don't want to cover them completely because they'll get a little too soupy, but you want to have enough liquid in there that it's going to help cook the beans.
Okay.
So, and you want to get this up to like a simmer.
So these will the beans will start to break down and
Yes.
create our broth over a period
Yes.
of time. They'll
And the
thicken.
ham kind of releases some juices and that adds to it. And then you can just add more. I think chicken stock is nice as opposed to water. It just gives it a little more
A
flavor.
little more flavor. Okay. But
So
you can
that's-
use water.
You can use water. It's just not going to be as
But
tasty.
you look down upon those people.
Sure.
I do.
Yeah.
By the way, you look lovely.
Thank you.
You know this nice little necklace you have on?
Got it all going on.
You know, I really like having you on this show.
Thank you.
You know, you
I may be permanent guest.
you held out for contract.
Right, that's right. I did. There was not all the things in the green room I wanted.
Well, you did throw a little tantrum this afternoon, but it's okay.
It's okay. I'm good.
glad you're giving us some ham hock.
I'm brought ham hock.
So now we're gonna let that
So
sit.
we're just gonna let that cook, and it's gonna take probably on the stovetop, especially once you've got it simmering and boiling, it can take a couple hours. You wanna test a bean here, periodically, because you want them to get to the point where they're soft. You don't want them to be mushy, but you wanna get them soft.
Now, I know we're doing this in the Dutch oven on
Right.
the stovetop, but you prefer to use a crock pot.
Right. I like to do it in the crock pot because you can just walk away and forget it. When I do it in the crock pot, I don't put quite as much in there because it doesn't cook at near as high heat, and so
Okay.
it doesn't need as much liquid
Right.
in the crock pot.
Okay, so now we just sit and wait.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So as you mentioned, we can do this in the crock pot, which is what we have here. What are we doing once we got this ready here in the crock pot? Wow.
And this is
Wow.
at the point your beans would be finished if you did them on the stove. So we're gonna take out, and you can see that a lot of this is so tender now
Just falling
that
off.
it's just falling off the bone. So we're
That
gonna take
smells
these out.
really wonderful.
At this point, you also want to take out the bay leaf. Nobody wants to chew on that. So usually I let this cool a little bit, and then I just shred it with my hands. I take off the fat, and I could use a fork, please.
Yes, you can.
You also, I'm going to show you this, you want the beans about this consistency where they just are kind of a little mushy.
And correct me if I'm wrong, and you probably know this, or you may
Right.
have even done this before, where somebody will take a hand mixer and kind of, not purify them, but make it a little bit thicker.
I wouldn't do it with that because you're
Okay.
going to get it too mushy, but what you can do if you want to, you can push some of these up against the side. You can see how easily they
Right.
squish, so to speak, and that will thicken your liquid a little bit. If you want it a little thicker, you can add more liquid to this. See, this isn't real
Yeah.
soupy like a soup. This
Wow, that
is
sounds
more just like a cassoulet.
It almost
Right.
gives it a little bit of like a creamy consistency,
Yes, exactly.
which I really like.
And so you're going to end up shredding all these, putting that back in here, and then I actually have sauteed a whole onion, and I think that just gives it more flavor. I don't put it in raw, and I wait till the end when you're about ready to serve this, because you don't want the onion to kind of just wilt into the beans. So you do that last. You put in your sauteed onion, and just give that a little stir.
That really came together nice.
Doesn't it? See?
It almost
This
looks
has
like
a
it has
great-
cream in it.
Yes, it does, because the beans put off the liquid, and then when you mush a few of them,
Yep.
it gives it kind of a creamy texture.
A little bit of
Then you also want to add a little pepper. If you're measuring, I would do maybe a teaspoon. And then you don't want to add any salt at all along the way until you're at the stage of serving this. The Ham Hocks, a lot of times, because of the saltiness in them, have salted the dish enough, and any additional salt will just be too much. So if you have a couple bowls, we'll put some in and we'll take a bite and give it a try.
As a matter of fact, I just got some bowls.
Well, good for you.
You're never gonna believe it. And look at that. They're coming from the Lord.
From space.
And look at that. You thought we had one?
Right.
No, we've got money.
Right.
Let's give this give it a little try.
So now we're going to taste it to make sure it's seasoned enough.
Okay.
See, I wouldn't add any more salt.
No,
I think we're good.
the ham gave it enough.
If you don't like pork at all, you could probably do a smoked turkey leg and chop the meat up and kind of get the same effect from a smoked turkey leg in there.
Can I interrupt?
You do all the time.
If you don't want ham, never
Is
mind.
that not true?
Never mind. Cheers.
Cheers.
So simple. It has like a creaminess to it. Great flavor.
Well, it's really true comfort food, especially this time of year.
Right.
When it's
It's
cold.
a great.
And it's very economical to
Yeah.
make. Kids like it, so
Yeah.
it's easy to make for kids. Maybe add a salad, some
Yeah.
cornbread, crusty rolls, something
You know
like
what's
that.
really nice, I think, about it too, is you can make it, save it, put it in the fridge. It gets even better.
It does.
As it sits, because
Yes.
it absorbs all of
Right.
those seasonings
Right.
and the actual
Yeah.
fat and the ham and all of that. You could
When
probably
it's
even
it.
sprinkle a little cheese on this.
You could parsley, a little
A
parsley,
little parsley
on
or something.
top. It
yeah.
would be nice.
But just like
yeah.
this is, it is. Let's do another cheers.
Okay.
To my mother-in-law.
To my son-in-law.
Wow. To the maker of my wife. What an annoyance.
Yes. Look, she's your problem now, not mine.
Oh, I know. As always, the recipe is in the description below. And from our house to yours.
Bon appetit.